You know she's old enough to be your mom, right? The whole table laughed, every single one of them, and I just sat there, holding my fork, feeling the heat rise up my neck, while my best friends treated my love life like a punchline. What I didn't say that night was that she was sitting right there, at that same table, and she heard every word. My name is Joelle. I'm 26 years old. I'm a junior landscape architect at a mid-size firm in the city. My days are mostly blueprints, soil charts, and coffee that goes cold before I remember to drink it. I grew up in a small, close-knit family in the Midwest where the plan was simple. Graduate, find a nice guy around your age, settle down, repeat. I wasn't wild. I wasn't rebellious. I was the girl who color-coded her planner and watered her plants every Sunday morning without fail. I wasn't glamorous. I wasn't chasing anything complicated. But then I met Diana. She was 44, a divorced architect with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She became my professional mentor before she became anything else. Neither of us planned what happened next. I wasn't looking for love that would make people uncomfortable, but I also wasn't willing to apologize for the one that found me. If you've ever loved someone the world said you shouldn't, subscribe right now. I want to hear your story in the comments. You are not alone in this. Let's go. Diana and I had been together quietly for 3 months when everything broke open. It wasn't dramatic at first. It started with a text message and a borrowed phone. My mom had left her cell in the car. We were heading out to dinner, just the two of us, and she reached for mine. "Can I call the cab?" she asked. I handed it over without thinking. I had nothing to hide. Diana's message was sitting right at the top of the screen. It said, "Dinner at mine tonight? I made that lemon pasta you like." My mom went completely still. She didn't yell. That would have almost been easier. Instead, her voice dropped to something cold and careful. "She's my age, Joelle. Do you understand how that looks? Do you understand what people will think of you?" I tried to explain. I told her about Diana's patience, her warmth, the way she listened to me like what I said actually mattered. I told her it wasn't what she was imagining. My mom cut right through it. "She's taking advantage of you. Women like that always do." I went quiet. I didn't have words sharp enough to fight back in that moment. But the real blow came later. 2 weeks after that dinner, I noticed Diana pulling away. Shorter texts. Canceled plans. A kind of careful distance that hadn't been there before. I thought I'd done something wrong. I went over every conversation, every moment, trying to figure out what had shifted. Then the Sunday family dinner happened. My mom sat at the head of that table and told everyone. She framed it as concern, as protection. "I had to step in," she said, nodding slowly. My aunts nodded back. My younger sister stared at her plate, and I sat there, completely frozen, while my own family passed judgment on something they had never even asked me about. I found out the truth a few days later. My mom had called Diana directly. She had told her that I was confused, that Diana should know better, that the right thing to do was to walk away. Diana hadn't told me. She had just started disappearing. After the family dinner, the distance spread. My 2 closest friends had heard about it through the family gossip. One of them sent me a long text that started with "I just think" and ended nowhere useful. She said the power dynamic was weird, that Diana had basically been my boss, that it wasn't healthy. I stopped getting invited to our weekly dinners. I found out through Instagram stories, the way you find out about things people don't want to tell you directly. A photo of the restaurant we always went to. 3 faces I knew. No seat left for me. I didn't beg. I didn't send a string of messages asking why. I sat with the loneliness the way you sit with a bruise, pressing on it just enough to know it's real. Then came work. Architecture is a smaller world than it looks from the outside. Word travels through it like water through cracks. One afternoon, a colleague stopped next to my desk and said, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, "Didn't Diana mentor you? Is that still ongoing?" The way he said ongoing made my skin tighten. My supervisor pulled me off a project the following week. No explanation. It was a project Diana had personally recommended me for. I had worked hard for that recommendation. And now it was gone. Handed to someone else, like I had never been considered at all. I started keeping a record after that. Every reassignment, every offhand comment, every moment something was quietly taken from me. I wasn't sure yet what I would do with it, but something in me knew I would need it. Then came Diana. She had been distant for weeks when I finally asked her directly. We were standing in the hallway outside her apartment. The overhead light was buzzing faintly. I could smell the rain coming in through the window at the end of the hall. "Did my mother call you?" She didn't answer right away. The pause was answer enough. "She's not entirely wrong," Diana said finally. "This is complicated. Maybe I'm being selfish." My voice cracked. I felt it go. But I stayed standing. "Don't make that choice for me. I'm 26, not 16. I know exactly what I want." I turned and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I closed it quietly, which somehow felt heavier. What none of them knew was that I had been writing about all of it for 2 years. Under a pen name, on a small blog that had grown much larger than I ever expected. It had crossed 200,000 subscribers the previous spring. I had a brand partnership that paid me more each month than my salary at the firm. My readers didn't know my face. My family had no idea it existed. Diana had never heard of it. The most read series on my blog was called Loving Outside the Lines. Anonymous personal essays about relationships that didn't fit the categories people had prepared for them. Readers would send me messages at midnight telling me I had described their lives back to them. I had done that for strangers while keeping it completely hidden from everyone I loved. What none of them knew was that I had been writing about this, about Diana, about my mother's phone call, about the Sunday dinner, about the coworker's smirk, and a lot of people had been listening. One morning I opened my social page and saw something that stopped me mid-breath. My mother had shared one of my posts. The coworker from my office had shared it too. It was the essay titled, "Stop Deciding Who Other People Are Allowed to Love." I took screenshots of both. I saved them without a word. The pen was loaded. I just hadn't pulled the trigger yet. That's when Renee texted me. She was my cousin, 34, and she had always been the family's cautionary tale. Divorced young, moved to another city, went 2 full years without speaking to anyone at family gatherings. People mentioned her name the way they mentioned bad weather, carefully and only when necessary. Her message said, "I heard what happened at dinner. I know what it feels like to be their cautionary tale." We hadn't been close in years, but something in those words felt like the first real air I had breathed in weeks. She told me about what had happened to her, about a woman she had loved in her late 20s, about our mother calling that woman, planting doubt, pulling threads, about how it had worked, about how Renee had walked away and spent years regretting it, not because the relationship would have lasted, but because the choice had been taken from her. "She has a pattern," I said. "Yes," Renee said. "This isn't protection, it's control." Meanwhile, Everyone else settled into comfort. My mother believed she had handled it. My friends assumed I had moved on. The office had stopped whispering because they thought the story was finished. Diana was telling herself she had done the right thing. Then, I posted a new essay. I titled it, "The Woman Who Kissed Me First and Then Apologized for It." I kept the names out. I kept the details vague enough to protect everyone, but the feeling was completely unguarded. It went quiet for 2 days and then it caught. My readership spiked. The comment section filled with people writing things like, "I walked away and I wish I hadn't, and this is exactly what happened to me." A journalist who covered modern relationships and unconventional love stories sent me a direct message. She wanted to feature me anonymously. She said my voice was one she hadn't heard before. I told her I would think about it. But I was already thinking. My mother organized a reconciliation dinner for the following Saturday. She framed it as moving forward, a fresh start. What she meant was that she wanted to sit across from me and watch me confirm, out loud, in front of the family, that I had come to my senses, that the whole thing was behind us. The night before that dinner, I published a new post. This one was different. I took my pen name off. I used my first name, just Joelle, and I wrote with no distance between me and the words. I wrote about being 26 and being treated like a child who couldn't read her own heart. I wrote about a mother who made a phone call I was never supposed to know about. I wrote about friends who disappeared without a conversation. I wrote about an office that quietly closed doors because of a relationship that was never their concern. And at the center of it, I wrote about a woman who said this is wrong before she kissed me, and about what that kiss actually said. By morning, 40,000 people had read it. Renee shared it first, then strangers. The comments came in fast. People wrote full paragraphs. People said it out loud in ways they never had before. I arrived at the dinner. The house smelled like the pot roast my mom always made when she wanted things to feel normal, but nothing felt normal. My mother had seen the post. I could tell by the way she held her fork, too carefully, like she was concentrating on not gripping it too hard. How could you put our family on the internet? I kept my voice even. I didn't name anyone, but you knew it was you. That's interesting, isn't it? She started to say something about privacy, about loyalty, about how I had embarrassed everyone at that table. I put my phone down in the middle of the dinner table. The post was open. The comments were visible. These are real people, Mom. All of those comments. Real people who have been through exactly this. You didn't protect me. You made me feel ashamed of the best thing that had happened to me in years. The aunt who had nodded so confidently at the Sunday dinner said nothing. The table went quiet in a way that felt permanent. My phone buzzed. I excused myself and stepped outside onto the front porch. The air was cool. The neighborhood was still. It was Diana. "I read it this morning," she said. Her voice sounded different, steadier, but also open in a way it hadn't been in weeks. "I should have fought for you." I looked out at the empty street. A car went by slowly, headlights washing over the pavement and then gone. "Then start now," I said. I went back inside. I finished my meal. I said a quiet goodbye to everyone at that table. No speech, no final blow. I just left on my own terms, which was something I hadn't done in a while. My mother didn't apologize that night. 2 weeks later, she sent a text. It said, "I read the comments on your post. I didn't know you were hurting that much. It was small. It wasn't everything, but it was a start, and I chose to let it be one." One of my friends reached out with a real apology, not a long explanation, just 3 sentences and genuine regret. I accepted it. The closeness wasn't what it had been, and I think we both understood that something had shifted permanently. The colleague who had smirked at my desk was quietly pulled aside by a senior partner who had read the post. There were no fireworks, just consequences, which was enough. Diana and I didn't rush back into something polished and easy. We talked. We were honest about the fear on both sides. We chose each other slowly and clearly, with our eyes open this time. I took my pen name down for good. My readers know my face now. She said, "This is wrong," before she kissed me. What she didn't know then, and what I know now, is that the most right things in my life have always looked wrong to someone else. Has someone ever tried to talk you out of love, or made you feel ashamed for who you chose? I want to hear your story in the comments. Subscribe to this community. We don't judge timelines here. Click hype to help this story reach everyone who has ever loved outside the lines. Your story has power. If you felt a connection to mine, please subscribe and share your journey in the comments. Every hype you give this video helps empower someone else who has been made to feel that their love wasn't valid. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening.